Today we are going to discuss the fourth postulate of quantum mechanics. Actually, in this fourth postulate of quantum mechanics, we will deal with the probabilistic outcome of measurements. In fact, the eigenvalue spectra is of two types, you know. First one is discrete spectra and the second is continuous spectra. Actually, this fourth postulate tells about both of these spectra, that is discrete spectra and continuous spectra. So let us see what about the discrete spectra this fourth postulate of quantum mechanics actually states. Actually, in case of discrete spectra, the statement of the fourth postulate is when measuring an observable A of a system in a state, let us say ket psi, the probability of obtaining one of the non-degenerate eigenvalue an of the corresponding operator a hat is given by Pn of an is equal to mod of a scalar product of psi n with psi square and divided by the scalar product of psi with itself, that is scalar product of psi with psi, and this will be actually equal to mod of cn square over c1 square plus c2 square plus so on plus cn square. What are these c1, c2, cn? I am just explaining it, but before that let us see what the actual statement is. Now this mod of cn square is actually equal to Pn, which is the probability of obtaining the eigenvalue an, and this product of psi with psi gives the total probability, that is sum of the probability of finding the all discrete eigenvalues, that is this will be c1 square, this is probability of finding of the eigenvalue p1, eigenvalue a1, and c2 square will give the probability of obtaining the eigenvalue a2, and similarly this cn square gives the probability of finding of the eigenvalue an, and so this is Pn over P1 plus P2 plus so on plus Pn. How I have written this term, let us see it here. Actually, you know that this ket psi n is an eigenstate of the operator a hat with eigenvalue an, and similarly you can say that ket psi 1 will be the eigenstate of operator a with eigenvalue a1, ket psi 2 will represent the eigenstate of operator a with eigenvalue a2, and so on. And you know that this ket psi is equal to what? This is actually the linear superposition of the different eigenstates of the system. And so we have already studied that this ket psi is equal to c1 ket psi 1 plus c2 ket psi 2 plus so on plus cn ket psi n. And as you know, these eigenstates, that is ket psi 1, ket psi 2, so on ket psi n, are orthonormal. When you say that these eigenstates are orthonormal, what does it mean? You know that it means these eigenstates are orthogonal and simultaneously these are normalized. So the condition for orthonormality, as you have already studied, is given in this manner, that is the scalar product of psi I with psi j. This is equal to delta ij, and you know this delta ij is what? This is Kronecker delta. And this Kronecker delta, or you can say the product of psi I and psi j, is equal to 1 when I is equal to j, and this equal to 0 when I is not equal to j. Actually, the first value 1 gives the normalization condition and the second the orthogonality condition. And when the eigenstates are simultaneously orthogonal and normalized, then we say that these are the orthonormal eigenstates. So here all the eigenstates psi 1, psi 2, psi 3 and so on psi n are orthonormal, and so definitely we can find that the fact here, the condition for orthonormality taking into account this product, a scalar product of psi n with psi. You can see this will be bra psi n, and this is actually at the place of psi we will write here that this is C1 ket psi 2 plus C2 ket psi 2 and plus so on plus Cn ket psi n. Now let us take the scalar product. You can see when we will take the scalar product of this psi n with C1 ket psi 1, what will be that? This will be C1, a scalar product of psi n with psi n. And again we will take the scalar product of psi n with C2 ket psi 2. This will be C2, a scalar product of psi n with psi 2, and so on. Similarly, the scalar product of this psi n with Cn ket psi n, what will be that? That will be Cn and product of psi n with psi n. And as you have learnt that these eigenstates are orthonormal, so when we will take the scalar product of psi n with psi 1, here n is not equal to 1, then this will be definitely 0. This product is 0. And similarly, the product of psi n with psi 2 is also 0. And you know that the product of psi n with psi n is equal to 1, as I have mentioned here. So the final result of the product of psi n with psi will be simply equal to Cn, which is actually the coefficient of ket psi n. I have just explained it here that this product psi n with psi 1, psi n with psi 2, all these are actually 0, and the product of psi n with psi n is equal to 1. So that is equal to Cn, and so you can see here I have mentioned in this expression here the product of psi n with psi equal to Cn, as here there is a square, so I have written here a square, but the product of psi n with psi is equal to Cn. So you have learnt how it is Cn. Now again you can find the scalar product of psi with itself, that is product of psi with psi. You know psi is equal to, in fact, C1 ket psi 1 plus C2 ket psi 2 plus so on Cn ket psi n. And so we will take the scalar product of this with this. And as we know, these eigenstates are orthonormal, so all the products of psi where this indices will be different, that is product of psi 1 with psi 2, product of psi 1 with psi 3 and so on, all will be 0. Only the product of an eigenstate with same eigenstate, that is product of psi 1 with psi 1 will be 1, product of psi 2 with psi 2 will be 1, product of psi n with psi n will be 1. So you can see the product of C1 ket psi 1 with C1 ket psi 1, here product of psi 1 and psi 1 will be 1, and so this will be simply C1 square. And if you will take the scalar product of C1 ket psi 1 with C2 ket psi 2 and so on Cn ket psi n, all will be 0. And in similar manner, the scalar product of C2 ket psi 2 with C2 ket psi 2 will yield C2 square. And similarly, the product of Cn with Cn ket psi n with Cn ket psi n will yield Cn square, and all other terms will be 0. And you know these C1 square plus C2 square plus so on plus Cn square, this is actually equal to P1 plus P2 plus so on plus Pn. Here P1 is actually equal to C1 square, which gives the probability of obtaining the eigenvalue A1, and this C2 square, which is equal to P2, this is probability of obtaining the eigenvalue A2, and similarly this Pn represents Cn square, and this Cn square is probability of obtaining the eigenvalue An. So I have written here instead of the scalar product of psi with psi equal to C1 square plus C2 square plus Cn square, and this has been written as P1 plus P2 plus so on plus Pn. So I hope you have understand how that expression is modified. Now, as I have told you that we are till now taking the case of non-degenerate eigenstate. What do you mean by non-degenerate eigenvalue? Actually, when corresponding to an eigenvalue, let us say An, if there is one and only one eigenstate, as in this statement, corresponding to this eigenvalue An, there is one and only one eigenstate, that is ket psi n, then this eigenvalue is called non-degenerate. But if corresponding to this eigenvalue An, if there are more than one eigenstates or eigenfunctions, then you say that that eigenvalue is degenerate. And if, let us say, corresponding to this eigenvalue An, there will be two eigenstates, then this An is known as two-fold degenerate. If corresponding to this eigenvalue An, there are three eigenstates, then this eigenvalue is called three-fold degenerate. So in general, if we say that corresponding to this eigenvalue An, there are m eigenfunctions or eigenstates, then this eigenvalue An is known as m-fold degenerate. So in general, let us consider that this eigenvalue An is m-fold degenerate. As I have told you, when you say that this is m-fold degenerate, what does it mean? It means corresponding to this particular eigenvalue An, there will be m eigenstates, and in this condition, if we want to write the probability of obtaining the eigenvalue An, what will be that? This probability of obtaining the eigenvalue An is given as Pn of An equal to summation j equal to 1 to m mod of a scalar product of psi n j with psi square over the scalar product of psi with psi. And as you know, this product of psi n j with psi will be actually equal to Cnj, and so this will be equal to summation j equal to 1 to m Cnj square mod square over, and again you can say that this product of psi with psi gives P1 plus P2 plus so on plus Pn. So this is actually the first part of the fourth postulate. And here one thing is also remarkable, which we have already studied in the heading of second and third postulate. As you know, in quantum mechanics, whenever an observable is measured in a particular quantum state, definitely just after or immediately after the measurement, the state of the system changes to one of its eigenstates. And if you say that the system during the measurement was in the state ket psi, and I have operated the operator corresponding to the observable A, which is A hat, on this ket psi, then you know this after the measurement, just after the measurement, immediately the state of the system changes from this ket psi to ket psi n. Actually, this ket psi n is one of the eigenstates of our system among Kate psi 1, Kate psi 2, and so on. And actually, this Kate psi n is one of the eigenstates, and if you want to find the state of the system immediately after the measurement, then how we can find it? Actually, we can find the state of our system just after measurement by the projection of this Kate psi onto the eigenvector Kate psi n, and this is given as Kate psi after. This is in fact the projection of Kate psi onto the eigenvector psi n, and you know this projection is given as Kate psi times, here there is just a simple product. When you say Kate psi, and this is times a scalar product of psi n with psi. But we know that this product of psi n with psi gives actually Cn, because you know this vector, the eigenvector psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, and so on, psi n are orthonormal. So you have just seen that this product of psi n with psi will give Cn. So this state just after the measurement is simply given as Cn times Kate psi n. This is actually a very remarkable expression, and you will find its importance in solving the numerical problem. As I have told you, such problems are asked several times in various competitive examinations, like the CSE Civil Service Examination, in optional physics, in IIT JAM, in CSIR, NET, JRF, and so on. Now, as I have already studied in the third postulate, that if our system is already in an eigenstate, let us say psi n, that is, system was not in the eigenstate Kate psi, but it was already in the eigenstate psi n, then actually if you measure, if you will operate the operator A hat to measure the eigenvalue corresponding to this psi n, that is, you want to measure the eigenvalue A n, then this A n will be measured with certainty. This will be not a probable value, but it will be a certain value. And so in this condition, when we operate the A operator A hat on psi n, the result is A n Kate psi n. So here A n is measured with probability 1, that is, it is measured with certainty. And one thing here is also remarkable, that in this condition the state of the system does not change. This state remains same, that is, before measurement the state was Kate psi n, and after measurement the system's state remains Kate psi. This is also a very remarkable fact, and you will again find its application in solving the numerical problems based on this concept. So this was all about the discrete spectra. All thing of discrete spectra will be clear to you when we will take a proper example, then you will learn everything. Now the second part of the fourth postulate is about the probabilistic outcome of the measurement when actually the eigenvalue spectrum is continuous, not discrete. So actually we can extend our idea of the discrete spectra in case of continuous spectra. So I have just mentioned here, the expression for the discrete spectra can be extended to find the probability density that a measurement of operator A hat gives a value between A and A plus dA. As the eigenvalue spectrum is continuous, so probable value you cannot talk about a particular value, but it will have some range, and we have the range of eigenvalue lying between A and A plus dA on the system, which is initially in a state psi. Our system was initially in a state psi. In this condition, actually the probability density that a measurement of A hat gives a value between A and A plus dA on the system which was initially in state psi, is given in this manner. This is given as dPA over dA. This is probability density of finding the value of the eigenvalue lying between A and A plus dA. And this probability density dPA by dA is given as mod of psi A square divided by the scalar product of psi with psi. And you know, here actually this product in integral form is written as mod of psi A dashed square dA dash from minus infinity to plus infinity. Because in this condition, the summation, because we have seen in case of discrete spectra, in denominator there is actually a summation of the different probabilities P1, P2, so on, Pn. So this can be written as summation over Pi. But here summation has been replaced by integration in case of the continuous spectra. And you can take a one-dimensional example to clarify this equation 5, that probability density of finding a particle between x and x plus dx, this will be given as, you can see, this is given as dpx by dx equal to mod of psi x square over the scalar product of psi with psi. And this product psi of psi will be again written in this manner. This product of psi with psi, you can write it in this manner. This is in fact minus infinity to plus infinity mod of psi x dashed square dx dashed. You can write it. You can use also x instead of x dash. This is just for simplicity. Now what we have learnt in this fourth postulate, I would like to explain or clarify the idea by taking a proper example. So let us see for illustration a proper example. The example says a particle is in an infinite potential box with walls at x equal to 0 and x equal to a. And what does it mean? It means that the potential is infinite for x less than 0 and x greater than 0. And between these two values of x, that is x equal to 0 and x equal to a, the potential is 0. And after this region, the potential is infinite. This is actually a particle in one-dimensional box problem. And this particle has a wave function at some initial time given as psi of x equal to 1 over root 5a sine pi x by a plus 2 over root 5a sine 3 pi x by a. Then we have to find the possible results of measurements of the system's energy and the corresponding probabilities. The second part of the problem is to find the form of the wave function after such a measurement. And the third part says that if the energy is measured again immediately afterwards, after the measurement we again want to measure the energy, then what are the relative probabilities of the possible outcome? So there are three parts of the problem. Let us see its solution and one by one in sequence, and you will see that what we have learnt in the statement of the fourth postulate, that will be completely utilized here to solve such problem. So first of all, you can see what the problem says. Actually, our problem says that there is a one-dimensional potential box between x equal to 0 and x equal to a. And in this region, actually this V is potential is actually infinity in this region V is again infinity, but in this region between x equal to 0 and x equal to a, this is 0. This is, in fact, in quantum mechanics, this is known as particle in one-dimensional box problem. And you have definitely studied the problem of particle in one-dimensional box. In fact, in this case, what are the eigenfunctions and eigenvalue you have learned. So I am just writing it directly. So in case of particle in 1D potential box, one-dimensional potential box, the eigenfunctions, or you can say wave functions, and eigenvalues. When you say eigenvalue, it means energy eigenvalues. Values are given as. I am just writing this expression directly. This is psi n of x equal to root over 2 by a. This is actually normalization factor. Sine n pi x by a. Sine n pi x by a. This is actually the eigenfunction. Here actually n is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. N cannot be 0, but because you know if n is equal to 0, then this psi n of x will vanish, and so that will represent that particle is nowhere. So n equal to 0 is restricted and cannot be 0. And the energy eigenvalue of this particle is given as n square pi square h cross square divided by 2ma square. I hope you have studied particle in a box problem, and in fact in that problem we derived these two results solving or setting the Schrodinger time independent equation for the particle, and after solution of that equation we find the eigenfunction psi nx and energy eigenvalue En defined in these equations 1 and 2. Now, as in our problem, you can see actually the given eigenstate of or the wave function of the particle is actually a superposition of two eigenvectors. So first of all, I would like to find a suitable form of the wave function which will actually represent or which we will give the information that of what eigenvectors the given wave function is a superposition. So let us see what is the given eigenfunction. This is psi of x equal to 1 over root 5a sine pi x over a and plus 2 over root 5a sine 3 pi x over a. Now, to write this expression in RHS in the form defined in this equation A, let us use the simple algebra. You can write it in this manner. This is 1 over root 10 into 2 over a square root sine pi x by a and plus 2 over 5's square root into root over 2 by a sine 3 pi x by a. You can check it. Simply this will be 2 over root 5a. Here there is actually in our problem this is 2 over root 5a, and this will be actually 1 over root 5a. So I have just written the given wave function in a suitable form so that we can compare with the standard result of the wave function in case of particle in one-dimensional box. So now you can see what actually this root over 2a sine pi x by a represents. You can see this is simply psi1 of x, because when we will take n equal to 1 in this equation 1, what will be the wave function? This will be root over 2a sine pi x by a. So this is actually psi1 of x, and this wave function root over 2a sine 3 pi x by a, you can see this is simply psi 3 of x. So you can see the given wave function is actually a superposition or the linear combination of two eigenstates defined by psi1 of x and psi 3 of x. Actually this psi1 of x is the ground state wave function, and psi 3 of x is second excited state wave function. So in Kate symbol we can write that this eigenstate Kate psi is equal to 1 over root 10 Kate psi 1 and plus root over 2 by 5 Kate psi 3. So actually the given state of the system is a superposition of the ground state and the second excited state. And you can see from here that if we write this state as C1 Kate psi 1 plus C3 Kate psi 3, then actually this C1 is equal to 1 over root 10 and this C3 is actually equal to root over 2 by 5. So this is the given wave function in Kate symbol. Now let us solve one by one each of the problem which we have to solve here. So first of all we have to find the possible results of the measurement of the system's energy, and we have to also find the corresponding probability, because you know this system is in a state which is a superposition of two eigenstates defined by this Kate psi 1 and Kate psi 3. So actually you can also see here that in fact this eigenstate is actually, or any energy eigenvalue is actually non-degenerate. This is not degenerate, because you can see for a given value of n we will have one and only one eigenfunction. Let us put n equal to 1. The energy will be pi square h cross square over 2ma square, and the eigenfunction will be root over 2a sine pi x by a. If we will take n equal to 2, energy will be what? That will be 4 pi square h cross square by 2ma square, and the eigenfunction will be root over 2 by a sine 2 pi x by a. So you can see corresponding to an energy eigenvalue, there is one and only one eigenfunction, and so these values are discrete because n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and simultaneously it is also in the case of non-degenerate eigenvalue. So we will apply the idea which we have actually discussed in the fourth postulate for the discrete spectra and the case of non-degenerate eigenvalue. So first of all, I would like to find the energy eigenvalues, and then we will measure the probability for finding those energy eigenvalue. So you have seen that En is equal to n square pi square h cross square over 2ma square. This is general expression. Now, for n equal to 1, the eigenstate is kate psi 1, and this is in fact root over 2a sine pi x by a, and the energy eigenvalue for this state, you will see there will be one and only one energy eigenvalue. This is written as E1, and we can simply find it by putting n equal to 1 in the above expression. So you can see what will be this. This will be simply pi square h cross square over 2ma square. So this is the energy eigenvalue in the quantum state defined by this kate psi 1. So you can see this is pi square h cross square by 2ma square. And now we will find the another energy eigenvalue corresponding to the state defined by kate psi 3. So for the state kate psi 3, which is actually equal to root over 2 by a sine 3 pi x by a. So you can see what will be the energy eigenvalue. We will simply put n equal to 3 in this expression, and we will find the energy eigenvalue in this case. So this energy eigenvalue can be found in this manner. This will be E3 equal to, this E3 will be equal to 9 pi square h cross square over 2ma square. Now we will find the probability of measuring these energy eigenvalues. So probabilities of measuring, not finding, measuring these energy eigenvalues. If we write the probability of finding the energy eigenvalue E1 as P of E1, you have learnt in the statement of the fourth postulate of quantum mechanics that it will be simply mod a scalar product of psi 1 with psi square and over a scalar product of psi with psi. And you have seen that this is actually equal to this will be actually equal to, this product is actually equal to what? This is in fact this is equal to C1 square and over, and this product is actually equal to C1 square plus here, since the psi is actually the linear combination of psi 1 and psi 3, so I am writing it C1 square plus C3 square. And you can see the expression for this kth psi. Actually, I have mentioned here that this kth psi is kth psi. We have written here. This kth psi C1 is actually you have already found. This is 1 over root 10 and C3 is 2 over root 5. So let us substitute the values of these two. So this will be simply 1 over 10 and this will be 1 over 10 plus 2 over 5. And after simplification you will get this will be 1 over 5. So actually the probability of measuring the energy eigenvalue E1 is equal to 1 over 5. Now in similar manner we can find the probability of finding of measuring the another energy eigenvalue, that is E3. So this probability, if we denote it by P of E3, this will be given as mod of a scalar product of psi 3 with psi square over, this is a scalar product of psi with psi, and again you can see this will be 2 over 5 over 1 over 10 plus 2 over 5, and this will yield 4 over 5. So these are the probabilities. Now the second part of the problem says that we have to find the form of the wave function after such measurements. In fact, we have already discussed how we can find the form of the wave function after measurement. So you can say if on measurement of energy the result is E1. The state of the system immediately after the measurement. Immediately after the measurement is, you have learnt that this kth psi after is just defined as a projection of the psi 1 here onto the this, and this can be written as psi1 ket psi1, and this is just a simple product. We have to take the simple product, algebraic product of ket psi1 with the scalar product of psi1 with psi. Again, you know the scalar product of psi1 with psi will be what? As you know, this is the wave functions are orthonormal, so this is simply equal to C1, and C1 is equal to what? That is equal to 1 over root 10, and so this will be 1 over root 10 ket psi1. Actually, this product of psi1 with psi is 1 over root 10. So this is the state of our system just after measuring the first eigenenergy eigenvalue E1. Similarly, after measuring the second eigenenergy eigenvalue E3, what will be the state of our system? So similarly, after measuring the eigenvalue E3, what will be the state of our system? This state will be given as ket psi after. This will be again ket psi times a scalar product of psi3 with psi, and you know this product will be simply equal to C3, and C3 is equal to what? This is root over 2 by 5. So this is root over 2 by 5 ket psi3. So these are the states of our system immediately after measuring the energy eigenvalue E1 and E2. Now in the third part of our problem, we have to actually find or you can say that if energy is measured again immediately afterwards, what are the relative probabilities of the possible outcomes? We have to in fact find it. As I have told you that if our system is already in a particular quantum state, then after measurement the state of the system does not change. So you can say that if the outcome is E1, if the outcome is E1, the state of system is ket psi equal to 1 over root 10 ket psi1. And as we know, now our system is already in this quantum state. So if the energy will be measured again, the outcome will be E1, and this will be with absolute certainty. And so in fact in that condition the state will not change. So if energy is measured again the outcome is E1 with probability equal to 1. Probability, it means with absolute certainty, you can say this is absolute, and so the state does not change. state does not change. It means our system will remain in this state ket psi 1. And similarly, after measuring E3, if we measure again the energy eigenvalue, then it will be again E3. Then it will be again E3 with certainty, and states of the system will remain same, and it is in fact root over 2 by 5 ket psi 3. So this state will not change. It means when we measure once E1 and again after that we want to measure the energy eigenvalue, the result is same E1, and similarly the result is same E3, and the state of the system does not change. So you have seen from this proper example what we have learnt in the fourth postulate, and I hope you can solve such problems